Hey, what's good, Double Clutch Nation? It's your boy Y Ghost, and today we're gonna be doing something a little different. I don't know if you guys are gonna enjoy it, but it's something I enjoy a lot. I watch a lot of philosophy essays while I'm at work, and I figured I'd bring some of that to you guys since I enjoy it so much. We will be giving a grade like A plus or F to every type of psychology explained in under 9 minutes, presented to us by the Paint Doodler, who I'm gonna link the video down below. I also subscribed and like, go subscribe, like, check it out. And with all that said, don't forget to subscribe and like to me. I mean, come on, I gotta feed into this psychology shit, the philosophy. You guys gotta feed me back. I gotta get a reason to do this more in the future because I enjoy the hell out of it. Let's hop into this video.
Existentialism. Existentialism centers on the meaning and experience of human existence. It holds that no intrinsic purpose or meaning exists beyond what we each self-define and our choices amidst uncertainty. Like an artist facing a blank canvas, we hold responsibility for every brushstroke.
Existentialism, I agree with a lot. I think I really like the concept of it, especially because I try to believe that I can do anything that I will achieve. I also believe in accountability a lot, and so I'd give existentialism an A, not an A plus, but I'm leaning towards an A. So that's what we're gonna give it, just because I really do agree with that.
Absurdism. Absurdism is closely related to existentialism, but holds that humanity's efforts to find meaning in a chaotic, irrational universe will ultimately fail as no meaning exists to find. It rejects existentialism's notion that people can create their own meaning and instead embraces absurdity. A core theme is the futile search for life's purpose, verging on delusional obsession.
I really like absurdism, not as much as I like existentialism, which I think absurdism is more fun of a way to think of it because even though it sounds worse, it is good to know that you can carry on life without needing to find that purpose and accepting that that purpose isn't going to be there. Because honestly, I do not believe in a further purpose to us. I think that it is just circumstance that we are here. So honestly, absurdism is pretty cool, but I do like to find meaning in myself, not a meaning to live, but a meaning to be. And so my meaning to be tends to be trying to succeed, find love, make friends, and be a good person. I would say absurdism is probably about a B minus compared to the A that I gave existentialism, but absurdism is kind of on the same branch, just a little bit lower for me.
Nihilism. Nihilism takes concepts of existential meaninglessness to the extreme by rejecting all notions of knowledge, truth, meaning, and intrinsic value. This school of philosophy maintains all attempts to impose or discern order, purpose, and meaning are inherently flawed intellectual constructs.
Nihilism. It's a typical kind of pessimistic way to look at things. And it goes a lot deeper than that. And I would love to deep dive nihilism sometime with you guys, as I would probably existentialism. But nihilism is probably honestly a B plus, though the way he explained it, I don't agree with that much. In a general sense, that is correct. And also, I think nihilism is how most of my younger years I looked at life. So I would still give it a B plus. I do still feel a lot towards that. I still do believe in a lot of their concepts, and I do see the world in a way that is similar.
Stoicism. Stoicism teaches finding peace of mind by accepting what you cannot control. It says external events happen due to nature's will. We suffer when wanting to control what is not in our power. Stoics practice self-discipline to master emotions and desires, which then removes turmoil and frustration. Roman philosophers like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius wrote on ethics and virtue by going with rather than against the flow of life.
So stoicism, I really like. I think I'm gonna give it an A plus. It kind of reminds me of something my grandma tells me all the time. Some of my therapists also used to tell me, which is things that are out of my control, I can't let affect me as much as I do. And it really helps when it comes to trying to work a full time job or just deal with the pressures of life in general. I got to remember that if something does go wrong, the best I can do is just try to continue to be my best self afterwards. Obviously, I don't want things to go wrong, but once it's already done and it's set into place, the best I can do is try to make up the best I can for that and let it go. And I find a lot of value in that. I find a lot of self peace in that. And I think it is a great thing for everybody to keep in mind when things are not going your way. And so, honestly, I give Stoicism an A plus. It's very helpful.
Virtue ethics. Virtue ethics teaches that morality comes from a person's inherent character, motivations, and behavioral dispositions, not what rules they follow. It looks at habits and motivations inside the person to judge them as good or bad.
Overall, I think virtue ethics is pretty much right. I think that when I consider other people more than myself, I look at this, at least as much as I can from an outside perspective. And I think it's a valuable way to be able to judge a person's character. Though I think internally for myself, it does not feel quite as right. And so I would give this about a C plus. Though I'm definitely willing to look more into it, and I do see a lot of value to the way it could help me figure out or guide the people around me and how I feel about them and the way I involve myself with them.
Consequentialism. Consequentialism judges if acts are right or wrong only by their outcomes. It holds that the ends justify the means, and consequences are all that matter morally speaking, not rules or motives.
I don't agree with that at all. Consequentialism gets an F. I mean, honestly, we see it all the time. Outcomes don't always match what you did. People who are completely innocent sometimes get things that they don't deserve, especially when we come to think about like babies and stuff. As terrible as that sounds, and maybe you could say that it applies to the parent in that situation so that it can affect them, but all sorts of bad things happen without necessarily meaning or karma to it. And I don't really agree with that at all. I think that's an F for sure.
Deontology. Deontology judges the morality of actions based on adherence to rules and duties. It argues that some choices are inherently right or wrong regardless of outcomes. Unlike virtue ethics that looks at a person's inner motivation, deontology requires obedience to moral rules as a duty in and of themselves, not just because of expected outcomes. For example, lying breaks moral law in deontology, even if the purpose is to help someone. Virtue ethics, on the other hand, may condone the lie through moral reasoning focused on the motivation behind it.
Deontology, I'd probably give about a D plus. Honestly, I think it makes it a little bit more black and white. I do think that the internal meaning or reason why you do something does matter a lot. Obviously, to a degree, that doesn't mean if you go out and do a bunch of crimes because you had a bad day, that does not make it okay. But still, there are reasons to why things happen, at least most of the time. So deontology is only applicable in certain circumstances, and I don't even think it's that I don't think at all it's something to live by. So I'd say deontology is probably a D plus. It does have some merit to it, but not a lot, especially not as much as virtue ethics, which I think is climbing up higher on my list as we go.
Utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is the view that society should aim to maximize total well-being. Actions, laws, or policies are moral if they achieve the greatest good overall, even if some suffer along the way.
Utilitarianism. That sounds disappointing. I could be completely wrong. I do not know most of these after the first couple, and that's why I need to still learn. But utilitarianism, I'd probably give about a C minus. I am not trying to be grouped in with everyone else. I am not trying to see things that could repeat that are not. Who determines the good for everyone else? That's what I want to figure out. Because if things make it harder for certain people, but overall it's supposed to help the whole, how do we decide what helps the whole and what is actually good? I don't necessarily know. I feel like I need to look into it more, but honestly, I'd probably give it a C minus. I don't see grouping everyone together for a benefit of everyone helps the individual at all, which I think is obvious. It's showing that, but how do we even decide what the whole outcome, what is good? That's like saying in certain things, say you were in Germany at a certain point and you subscribe to a certain notion and you try to promote that throughout um, for the good of the whole, that does not make it okay. That makes it terrible. You're still terrible, and it doesn't sound right at all. I'm giving it a C minus, but certain circumstances like that are what worry me about utilitarianism.
Rationalism. Rationalism says reason is the main source of knowledge, and that intuition and deduction can reveal the truth about the world. Rationalists emphasize logic over observable evidence. René Descartes pioneered major rationalist concepts like, I think therefore I am.
Honestly, to me, rationalism probably gets about a C. I don't know what to think of it too much. Honestly, I didn't grasp it too well. It seems as though I think therefore I am implies mind over matter, but they're emphasizing logic, so I'm not exactly sure about that one. So I'm going to give it a C, but just know that I don't know that much about it.
Empiricism. Empiricism says knowledge comes only from sensory experience. Empiricists view the mind at birth as a blank slate to be filled solely by sensory data and reject reasoning or intuition alone as reliable guides for truth.
Okay, empiricism seems completely wrong. It kind of deducts everything from a gene pool or evolution or anything like that, and just kind of makes your experiences are what you are. And though that is right to a degree, it is not a completely right thing. And it seems like it throws a lot out of the window. So I'd honestly give that a D minus. It's very close to an F.
Constructivism. Constructivism focuses on how we assemble meaning and knowledge from the world around us. It proposes that humans construct learning and truths individually rather than absorbing objective information passively. Constructivism has strongly influenced theories of education, emphasizing active student participation over mechanical memorization of static facts.
Didn't get that one that much either. I'm gonna give it a C. It seems like they just want you to participate in things so that you can grasp it yourself because everyone learns individually. And if I am right, then I get it. But if I'm wrong, then I don't get it. And I'm gonna give it a C just because I'm unsure.
Skepticism. Skepticism doubts all accepted beliefs. Extreme philosophical skepticism argues that absolute truth may be unknowable, and that no knowledge claim can ever be definitively proven true due to limits of perception and reasoning.
Okay. Skepticism is fun. I think it is great to be a skeptic about most things that are considered real, but when we go into math, it's kind of a stretch. But I think it is nice to be a skeptic about most of life's presentation to you to figure it out for yourself and find the truth in that or find something opposing to the truth in that. But it is good to try and find things out for yourself rather than just take it at face value. I find a lot of value in that. It can be a really good tool in self growth and deep thinking. And it is very fun to be a skeptic towards a lot of ideas that are generally presented to you. Normally, it is so fun to just kind of take those apart and play with them a little bit when normally you would just kind of bypass them in your head and accept them as truth. Critical theory, oh, skepticism, I'd give an A minus.
Critical theory. Critical theory examines how power structures shape society and beliefs. It questions the status quo by revealing the underlying ideologies that form what we accept as normal or common sense. Critical theorists analyze things like social injustice, economic inequality, and institutionalized domination of one group over others. This is where the feminist theory is derived from, as it seeks to expose assumptions benefiting some over others.
Critical theory, I'd give a B, only because I don't understand it fully and I would like to learn more about it. I think that it also leads to deep thinking, which is great, and it tries to find the meaning behind what things have been that are not necessarily as represented. And I think it helps you lead yourself to the conclusion in the right way to find what's true, what's right, and what is happening. And I think that is all great. So if I'm not understanding it fully, I apologize, and I also think that it is anything that leads to deep inner thinking or outer thinking is great. Trying to figure out the reasons why, what is going on, the truth behind things, and what is actually real versus what is presented is so fun. And so I give critical theory quite a good rating. I'd give it a B, leaning on B plus. So I'm going to give it a B for now, only because I think skepticism is along the same lines, but more generally, and I think it allows more to be done.
Idealism. Idealism says reality is made of ideas or spirits rather than things we can touch and see. It claims our minds shape everything we experience as physical, including our own bodies, like how dreams seem real when we're in them, even if just in our heads.
This is mind over matter. Okay, so idealism is fun. Do I fully agree with it? No. Do I think it has value? Yes. Would I give I'm a big believer in like mind over matter and stuff, and I think idealism is fun, but I do not necessarily agree everything is shaped off of our brains and spirits. I think there's a lot that go into everything, and that is a oversimplification and kind of an out there idea. I think honestly, I'd probably give it a C plus, but it is interesting, and I would like to look into it more, and it does have its own value. Going into realism.
Realism. Realism says the physical world we perceive exists independently, outside of the mind. They believe that matter and observable things are primary, while consciousness arises from detectable interactions in the brain. Realism claims that stuff we trip over like rocks or tables would still be there, even if no minds existed, and rejects the idealists saying matter comes from imagination.
You just threw me for a loop, dude. Realism, I'd also give a C. I'm gonna give it a C. it also seems flawed. It also seems less valuable, and I don't necessarily get it fully, but I'm guessing it's saying everything that exists would exist whether or not we're here or not, which I do agree with, but then again, duh. So maybe I do agree with it, but I just don't understand it.
Spiritualism. Spiritualism believes that spirits of the dead communicate with the living, usually through a medium. Spiritualism convinces grieving loved ones that beloved spirits are doing okay on the other side.
All right, spiritualism. I'm gonna give that a D. I don't agree. I don't believe. I think that is just made to make you feel better, and I know that is controversial, and I apologize. My beliefs are not right. They're just my beliefs, and spiritualism seems like a stretch. Though it is a nice thought.
Physicalism. Physicalism claims that reality consists only of the physical world studied by science that can be explained by atoms and molecules. It views consciousness and thinking as no more than biochemical reactions and electrical impulses sparking between neurons, and that no spirit is floating about. While realism believes that the world exists independently outside the mind, they remain neutral on the idea of consciousness. However, physicalism goes further, claiming that all of reality, including consciousness, thinking, and experiences, can be accounted for by physics, matter, and motion with no remainder.
I think physicalism is right, but it just seems like no fun. I'm gonna give it a B. I think it's probably valid. It's probably the most realistic, and it is unfortunate to think of it that way because it is fun to think that our thoughts are our thoughts, which they are. We are still in control, no matter if it's produced by science, which it most definitely is, matter and whatever else he said. But it really just, I feel like it's deeper than that. I don't think it's like an outward meaning, but I do think it's deeper than that. Um, because I am me, I exist. I can say that and you can see that. Um, but that does not take away from what they said, it just adds to it.
Naturalism says the only real truth comes from science experiments, discovering how nature works, and that only facts confirmed through testing theories against evidence count. Naturalism also ignores spiritual beliefs or philosophy speculations since they can't be proved in labs. While physicalism believes everything can be explained eventually using science, even if we don't understand it today, naturalism restricts all knowledge only to those theories that have been confirmed through testing.
Naturalism is terrible. I give it an F. I don't want to hear that shit. Anarchism, let's hear it.
Anarchism. Anarchism wants to get rid of rulers and laws to enable total freedom. It claims ordered cooperation happens spontaneously without state control once oppressive constraints are lifted, like volunteer crowds clearing fallen trees after storms by common caring rather than central direction. Anarchists seek progress through society, grassroots agreements, not government coercion.
Wait, anarchism is interesting. I think it is fun to think about, but it would be a dumpster fire if it was the case. Anarchism needs to stay as an idea, as a thought, and it would be a fun pursuit for like a year to try that out. But like honestly, living life that way, I don't think I could ever see it. And so I'm gonna give it a D minus. It's leaning on F. Anarchism just doesn't work in my head.
Marxism. Marxism aims for fair worker rights and resources shared equally. It believes those owning business capital will always exploit employees for profit otherwise. Marxists want workers democratically running factories themselves. Basically, Marxism preaches ending the class system, where the rich live well by paying the poor as little as possible.
So Marxism is fun, but I think it's only fun because the class I am in, where I work every day, I honestly don't think it's a way of life, and I don't think it's plausible. Though I do agree that things are out of balance, and it is only getting worse. Marxism is not the way. I do think leadership is important, and yes, they will take advantage of you. That's kind of what everyone does. But I don't think that's because of capital or anything. I think you'd be taken advantage of no matter what you do. So I'd probably give that about a C, only because I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I don't really have an opinion.
Liberalism. Liberalism promotes individual rights and liberties as the best path to justice. It emphasizes constitutional limits on government powers and free markets with open competitions, not state-run industries. For example, classical liberals oppose censorship of any belief or behavior, not directly harming others through unconsented violence even if deemed offensive. They advocate moral autonomy.
Okay, liberalism sounds fine. I'd probably give it a B. Um, so far, everything that he said throughout that seemed okay. I wouldn't like go towards it, which is why it's not an A or an A plus. But I think a B is fair.
Communitarianism. Communitarianism says strong communities with shared values matter more than individuals. Maintaining cooperative traditions and common identities takes priority over pursuits of radical freedoms that could divide societies into hostile factions. It balances caring for your neighbor with chasing personal advancement.
Communitarianism, I don't agree with. Mostly because I think I am an individualist. I do see a lot of power in the individual. I don't think it's the only way to go. I think benefiting society can be nice, and I think doing your part is great. But I don't see throwing out the individual at all. I think that is more important than society as a whole. At least it should be to yourself. So I would probably give that about a C minus.
Individualism. Individualism emphasizes the intrinsic worth of the individual. Individualists promote realizing one's goals and desires, valuing independence and self-reliance, and advocating that the interests of the individual should gain precedence over the state or a social group, while opposing external interference upon one's own interests by society or institutions such as the government.
Individualism, I give an A plus. I think that like nails a lot of my beliefs on the head, and honestly, that's probably the one I agree with the most. So I'll just mark it as an A plus plus. We're going into deductivism.
Deductivism. Deductivism claims utterly certain conclusions must follow logically from accepted premises. Deductivism says if I know A equals B and B equals C, I must know A definitely equals C. It claims logical step-by-step math-like rules yield 100% true conclusions. If your first premises are airtight, no guessing is needed.
Yes, that's true, but what does that further? I don't. I need to look into that more. It's getting a C. I don't get it. Inductivism is
Inductivism. Inductivism looks for consistent patterns signaling likely futures, without certainty. Like if the sun rose daily for years, betting it appears tomorrow seems reasonable too. But inductivism can't guarantee forecasts using past precedents, as new surprises might lurk ahead.
I hope he's explaining that wrong, but inductivism just seems strange. Um, Though I can predict that the sun's going to rise tomorrow, I also know it is. It's just how things work. I think it's proven. I don't know why you can't be certain on things, and I don't like that at all. Though one day the sun might explode, it's not going to be tomorrow, and we know that.
Abductivism. Abductivism infers the most plausible explanation using limited clues, like guessing rain based on water stains, rather than entertaining all possible accounts. Abductivism selects the best hypothesis available without certainty or applying repetitive data like inductivism.
Okay. So abductivism is just like making educated guesses. I mean, that's cool. I wouldn't say that's special at all, though. I'd give that like a D plus. It's definitely better than inductivism, which I think is definitely an F, but like still strange.
Probabilism. Probabilism estimates reasonable chances of outcomes given unavoidable randomness in parts of reality, playing with percentages, not proofs. Like projecting disease rates based on probability calculations using statistics rather than making deductive declarations about any one person's health. It says stuff like coin flips or dice rolls lands randomly each time, but that over many tosses or rolls, reliably accurate ratios emerge probabilistically.
So probabilism was the last one, and I'd probably give that a B, only because I like stats and I think it is valid. I don't think it's fair to be. It's definitely better than abductivism and inductivism. I think probabilism is fun, and I'm doing a lot of isms right now, but I'd probably give that a B. Um, it is fun. It is probably the most true of the two because I think it's weird to pick one extreme over the other, and so I think I fall into that line the most, but it's still not perfect. Make sure you go subscribe to him. This video was good. I do think that things could have been explained better, but he had 9 minutes and he killed it. So go subscribe to the Paint Doodler. And so, honestly, I think this video was a little jumbled. It could have been planned better and I could have done a better job. I hope you enjoy the philosophy stuff, and eventually I'm just going to explain my mind to you guys. But right now, not enough people watch me for me to really feel comfortable explaining myself because I know I'm not going to be heard, and the people that do hear me are people I know, and they're just gonna take that as they may, if they even make it to this point, which I don't know if you will. But if you have made it this far, which one aligned with you the most? Leave it in the comments. That's a little test for you. Make sure you like, subscribe, enjoy the video, and check out some of my other content. Until next time, though, enjoy basketball, enjoy fugglers, enjoy philosophy, and most importantly, enjoy life. Stay blessed.